You in this battle, man, I'll soon be dead. I'll glue your face to my dick so I can fuck with your head. I got metaphors coming through my pores. You probably never been in a battle before, so I hope you realize your mistake. There ain't no party, got some candles, this won't be a piece of cake.
Folks, welcome to the Before Hours podcast, an internet radio phenomenon hosted by an occasional morning person. I ask the most interesting people I know about their sleep, their routine, life, love, stress, setbacks. If you want to write to us, you may do so in one of two ways. Write to the Before Hours podcast at gmail.com or slide into my DMs on Instagram at Bobby Sheehan, LOL. LOL, because you know I bring the laughter. But for now, we have former scientist, current comedian, and I'm going to go ahead and say it, a good hang, Sarah Adelman. How are you?
Oh my God, you pronounced my last name correctly.
I know, I was practicing it outside.
Very rare.
Is it rare?
I would say 5% of the time people get it right.
Whoa.
It's almost 90% of the time it's Adelman, and then some it's Alderman. I've met other people with my last name. They're all pronounced Adelman.
Oh, okay. I think I might have been accidentally correct.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, look at that. Amazing. Fantastic. Thanks for having me.
I have my last name mispronounced constantly.
Sheehan, Sheehan.
Sheenan, people sometimes do sometimes.
What's the correct?
So I will accept Sheehan or Sheehan.
Okay. What's correct?
Sheehan.
Sheehan.
Yeah, because it's like
Sheen, the...
Yes.
Okay.
And sometimes people will say Sheeran.
Like Ed Sheeran.
But that didn't happen until that gentleman was famous.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's Irish, assuming from
it is Irish.
the way you look.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know anything about Ireland.
Oh, okay. Have you been?
No, I've never been. I don't recognize it as part of my identity.
Okay.
But I mean, when people are like, you're Irish, this might seem pedantic, but I always go, my ancestors are from Ireland, but I've never been there. I think I know Michael Collins. Is that the only leader I know? Yeah. And the guy in the Lucky Charms box. And that's the extent of my knowledge about the region.
Cool.
So yeah, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Do you have a middle name?
Michal.
Michal.
No. More Jewy.
There's no way I'm gonna.
Michal.
I'm not gonna give it the phlegm it deserves. Michal.
Hanukkah. Yes.
Michal. Hell yeah, dude.
Very nice.
Nice. I appreciate you. Yeah, you have no fear over being doxxed.
No.
You know, I was talking to my friend Ben, who is on the podcast, and my friend Ben, who's also a scientist.
Ben Miller?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Shout out to Ben Miller if he's listening. He probably is. He's a good friend.
We met once.
Yes.
Which I'm surprised not more in the science comedy circles.
Yes. So I introduced you as being a former scientist. You are a former scientist, correct? Right? So you left science behind for the much more lucrative career of stand-up comedy.
Correct.
Yeah. So what I know you worked in a lab.
I can't say where.
You can't say where.
Not supposed to talk about it too much.
Okay.
Or the reasons of leaving or what they are. But I can definitely talk about what I did there and
Dude,
what I do now.
this is so spicy. This is so exciting. Okay,
it's gonna be like beep, beep.
Let's do it in order. Tell us what you used to do as much
Okay.
as you were able to do so.
Okay. I kind of found myself into that field unbeknownst. I was a history major in college. I studied British World War II history. I was very into that, and American and Cold War. And then junior year, was talking to a career counselor, and I was like, well, I kind of want to be David Sedaris. That's like my dream job. And she was like, well, he already exists. So what else do you like? You can't really do you want to be a historian? There are like 10 historians. Do you want to do that? And I was like, I don't really want to do that. Mostly because I didn't want to teach. Because I saw the way that we all as students abused our teachers. Like, can I have an extension for the, that sucked. I didn't want to do that. She was like, what else do you like? And I've always been very fascinated with childbirth and pregnancy. A baby was born in a taxi outside my childhood home when I was 7. And I was obsessed with that. And then when Sybil, my favorite character in Downton Abbey, died in childbirth, shout out Sybil, I just became completely fixated. But I thought that you had to be an OBGYN to be in that field. And I didn't want to go to medical school. Then I discovered there's this whole aspect of research where you can do sociology, you can do psychology, you can do you can do all this stuff where you don't have to go take chem and physics and, go do that super hardcore. So I kind of went the medical sociology route, tapped that onto my major. So I ended up double majoring in both. And then I went straight to grad school because I wasn't sure if I wanted to get a PhD or not. So I did a master's of public health in the city because I grew up here. I wanted to come back. And then I started working at an unnamed lab, very prestigious in the city. And I was running all sorts of really cool like human subjects trials. So we were testing sperm for like microplastics, organophosphate pesticides, which are like what we typically find on fruits and vegetables. Wash your fruits and vegetables. We're finding microplastics are such a problem, we can't find a control group because they're so pervasive.
Oh, there's not a living person that has no microplastics in them.
That's correct.
That's terrifying.
Correct. So don't microwave your Tupperwares and be careful. I mean, it's unavoidable, but do what you can. I typically found in all my years in science, like don't do the really big bad stuff, but also don't kill yourself over trying to like, if you get a little saran wrap, you're not going to die. You know what I mean? So yeah, so I did that for 2 years. Now I do science comedy consulting like as my day job, which sounds made up, but I work at Hello SciComm, which is a very cool science comedy consulting agency. So it's a bunch of people who have comedy and science backgrounds. So like I just wrote jokes for a woman who's lobbying before Congress to try and fix how kidneys are donated. It's like I wrote a bunch of kidney jokes, like kind of stuff like that.
Yeah.
We're going to be working with like people. Like we do a lot of like marketing communications and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Did that answer your question?
It answered my question, dude. So I was, I'm going to ask an ignorant question now because
Please.
I've been, and there'll be one of many.
Oh, no problem.
But, cause actually, dude, I am so not STEM oriented, but I feel.
Me neither, really.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I was definitely building the plane as I flew it for sure. Like, I did not know how, I'd never been in a lab before. I'd never worn gloves or goggles. I didn't know how to do any of that. But kind of like stand up, like you don't know what you're doing. You kind of fake it till you make it. Yeah. And it's like that in all the fields.
Yeah, that is interesting how like as we get older, we're like, no one's quite flying the plane. Like
no.
Everybody's kind of figuring it out.
Correct.
Including your mom and dad.
Yeah.
Everybody, one's mom and dad, not yours specifically.
No, but they don't know what the fuck they're doing. My mom was like, we got married, so I just went off the pill. That's what people did. She had me at 25. I was like, Mom, what? It's crazy.
Yeah, it's okay. So I wanted to ask, what are, don't laugh at me, microplastics?
Okay, I don't really know. They are, it's like,
I feel better now.
It's sort of like the cellular, I believe, kind of like when you, it's like the plastics that are so small, I believe they can like break that like cell bloodstream barrier or whatever, and then they become in your organs. Like if you were to eat a piece of plastic, like a Barbie or something, part of that would like become part of your body. Okay. So now they're finding microplastics in sperm, in placentas, in eggs, in breast milk. Like babies are being born with microplastics. It's just like, it's the way that, think about it like a forever chemical. When people are like PFAS and that kind of stuff, like forever chemicals that are bad, like those have been banned in a lot of places like since the 60s. That's what used to be in like insulating foam and like stuff like that, and a lot of stuff used by the military. But just think of it as like a germ you can't get rid of, but there physically is plastic in like a lot of your cells and organs. And it doesn't belong there.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's crazy. So you're working in this lab and they, I always have it in my head because I know you have a joke about it, that they look at sperm. Was that the majority of what the lab looked at?
That's what I like was hired to do. And then the more I stayed on, the more I got to do what I wanted to do, which was like prenatal stuff. But there's a lot of funding. Like the government is very like interested in like funding fertility stuff. Fertility is going to be a big problem for our generation.
Oh yeah.
Like by the time people our age become financially able to have kids, we're past our biological clocks. And also millennials and Gen Z just don't really want to have kids. So the government kind of has a vested interest. I mean, you look at a place like a country like Japan, which has like a really, they're below their dependent replacement ratio, where like not enough young people are being born to stimulate the economy for the older people. So the US government does not want that to happen. So they're interested in studies like sperm and eggs and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing that we're all kind of delaying marriage and family.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like I'm old enough that probably if I want a kid, I'm going to have to buy one.
How old are you?
How old am I? 33.
Oh, okay, that's not that old.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't see me having my ducks in a row in the next few years.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Me neither.
Yeah. That's a commonality of everybody I have on the podcast, because we're
Sure.
artists and
Yeah.
we're chasing our dream.
And also, like, yeah. And also, we have to go have weird life experiences. We can't be normal picket fence people. Otherwise, we have nothing to write about and people wouldn't want to listen to us.
Yeah.
So it would be this like snake eating its tail.
I feel like sometimes, this is what I'm about to say is very mean, but sometimes older people, and they come to an open mic and they're new to comedy and they're like, I have so much life experience. And then they're the boringest people I've ever heard in my entire life.
Well, it's like the best screenwriting advice I ever got is like, no one ever wants to read a pilot about a guy who has a great wife and he loves his kids and he goes to work and he comes home and he's happy.
Yeah.
That's like the worst story ever.
So
We
whenever
have to put ourselves through the ringer.
Yeah, whenever I'm feeling unhappy, I'm just
that's
like,
material.
This is material right now.
Exactly.
I've been, I think I've said this on the pod before. I've been living my life like a bit. Like when something bad happens to me, I'm like, but if this was like filmed, people would be laughing.
Me too. I got hit by a car 2 days ago.
2 days ago?
I know. Do you want to see?
Oh my God.
My bruises. Did you see that guy?
For those just listening, Sarah has 2 giant bruises, one on each knee.
Big one on my sternum and my ribs and stuff. This fucking crazy bitch hit me with her car when I was on my bike.
Okay.
And I literally was lying there and this halal guy was like, "Are you okay, miss?" And I was like, this is going to be a joke.
Yeah.
But I haven't figured out the angle.
Miss, are you okay? Do you need hot sauce, white sauce? So
Band-Aids.
Were you walking across the street?
I was biking up 8th
biking.
and I had a green light and then there was a car driving parallel to me and she wanted to turn left onto the street and she cut me off. I mean, I rolled onto the hood. It was bad. I know, it was really bad. And I'm like on the ground. But then she drove away. It was like a hit and run. She didn't even ask if I was okay or say sorry or anything. It was really more than that she could have killed me. I was like, that's mean.
Yeah, it's
like that's
rude.
mean. That's women on women violence.
And I hate to see it.
I know.
Unless it's like MMA, then it's entertaining.
That's okay.
But yeah, I get so nervous in New York with the pedestrians and the motorists and the bicyclists.
Well, it's the motorists or the people, the delivery guys playing Candy Crush, going 1,000 miles an hour in the wrong direction. Like, dude, it's a nightmare.
I'm glad you're okay. So it's just the bruises, right?
It's just the bruises. I didn't bring anything. I've gotten in a couple accidents on the bike. I only just learned how to ride a bike, which is probably part of the problem. I didn't ride a bike until like I was 22. So I've only been riding a bike for 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're braver than I would never. I've been very, very late to places and never once have I considered getting a city bike. I'm too afraid.
Okay, cool. I do the silver bullet, as Josh Lampley would say. The e-bike. So that's also a problem.
The fact that she just drove away is crazy.
I know. Like I was on the ground.
Yeah.
It was whack. I mean, I get it. I guess if I were her, I wouldn't want to like admit guilt or anything like that.
When I was moving from one New York City apartment to another, and I rented a U-Haul, and because I am sometimes a silly goose, I chipped a car with the U-Haul pretty bad.
Okay.
Like I took off like part of the left front bumper.
Okay.
Embarrassing.
Yeah.
So, and it's like a one-way street, and it was literally right outside my new apartment.
Okay.
And so I didn't know what to do. I was like, do I just wait until the owner of the car comes? That could take forever, and also they might be mad at me.
Right.
So I Googled like Bushwick Police Department, and I called, and they were like, "Oh, you got to call 911." And I'm
on
like,
yourself?
Yeah, they were like, "Call 911." I'm like, "But this is so not an emergency."
Yeah.
They're like, "It's just like how it works when there's a fender bender."
Okay.
And I'm like, okay. So I call 911. And of course, the first thing I say is, this is not an emergency. I hit a parked car. And then the woman's attitude was like, well, then why are you calling 911? I'm like, well, what do you want me to do?
Yeah, that's so annoying. So what happened?
Everyone that saw, like everyone that walked by was incredulous that I was the one, like that I was telling on myself, basically. Even the 2 police officers came, they were like, so you're telling me you hit this car? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, and you called us? And I was like, yeah.
So what ended up happening to you? Did you have to pay or?
No, always get the insurance with the U-Haul.
Okay.
I had to pay literally $0.
Oh, great.
All that it cost me was my embarrassment.
Okay.
And sometimes I have trouble falling asleep still.
Okay.
But
well, I don't know how to drive. So
the lady came out, the lady whose car hit, she was like, hey, I just want to thank you for not just driving away. I'm like, I live in a city full of lunatics, like literally psychopaths. I'm like, I did the bare minimum.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Are you from the Midwest? Where are you from?
I am from upstate New York, which is the Midwest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm from the Hudson Valley, like 2 hours north of here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I love the Hudson Valley.
Yeah. So not a native New Yorker.
Okay.
No. Like when I moved here, it was as much of a culture shock as it would be for anybody else.
Did you come here as a kid?
Okay. So I think the first time I went to the city, as I called it, was like when I was a little kid on a field trip, and I think I went to like some museum or whatever. Okay. And then the second time I went was the Christmas after 9/11.
That's nice.
Because my parents are like sort of intense.
Yeah.
They're like, we were gonna go to New York City on Christmas anyway, and we're not gonna let terrorists win.
Okay, wow.
like
Must have been
11.
not so packed. It must have been nice.
It really was, yeah. And
like we went to Legoland once on Christmas and it was empty. We're like the only Jews. We went to California. For Christmas, for like on Christmas break.
Okay.
And we don't celebrate Christmas. So we just went to Legoland as a kid and it was awesome. No lines.
No lines.
Empty.
Yeah, it was probably Jews and Asians.
Yep.
That's what they should have, Jews and Asians Day at Legoland.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'd love a discount.
What? Because we all know how Asians love discounts. How was Legoland?
I liked it. I get really like bad vertigo and I get like nauseous and seasick and stuff. So I can't really do roller coasters. But they had little cars you could drive yourself, and you got like a fake Legoland driver's license. I loved that.
And then you were like, "Listen, I don't need a new I don't need an actual driver's license."
I had this Legoland driver's license. Yeah.
Oh, I used to love roller coasters when I was little, and then like it's one of these things. Like as I've gotten older, I'm like, oh, but they could break.
Yeah.
They're made by people.
I'm not really interested in like artificial fun. Like I don't really like roller coasters or board games or carnivals or like let's all strap into the fun machine and have fun. Like I just want to talk and hang out.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Yeah, I had someone describe it as forced fun.
Yeah, I don't
forced
like
fun.
It just feels artificial to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not really how I like to spend time with people. Like it feels like there's a third wheel of the activity.
Yeah, I guess it's good if like if you're like, well, there's no organic reason for me and this person.
But see, then I would never spend time with that person.
Yeah.
I would much rather be alone.
I really, okay, as much as I do like board games, but I do see where you're like, where I shine socially is just to have a conversation.
Or a game that involves socializing. So like Taboo or charades or, heads up, like something like that where it's about your chemistry with a group or a person and it's competitive. That's fine. But like a rolling the dice doing this, that to me is like, I'm just running out the clock on my life. And I'm not, sorry that's rude, but I would rather.
You're like, I'm not dead yet.
I'm not dead yet.
Yeah.
That to me is what Monopoly is, like literally over my dead body.
Yeah, I really, that's sort of how I feel about video games. Are you a video game person? No.
They made me car sick.
Yeah.
But also I get same idea of like, I'd much rather watch a movie or have an early night and recharge my batteries.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I'm a big movie person. I watch the movie Lincoln about once every 4 months.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Big Lincoln stan.
Okay.
So I'm more American history. I know you're British history.
I like American history as well.
How did you land on British history, by the way?
My grandmother's from London, and then I studied abroad there, and I've always, I don't know, I like things that are classy. I find Europe very classy.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always, I loved The Crown. I don't know. I think it's a lot of bullshit, but that doesn't mean I still can't. I'm still a fan.
Yeah.
Like I think it's all very interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like the idea of like hereditary monarchy is like, that's so weird and fascinating. And I don't like think that they like necessarily deserve to have any sort of power, which like they don't really other than the money. But I don't know. I'm just fascinated by that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The fact that that's how almost all of us ran our lives until very recently.
Yeah.
Like who should run the country? I don't know, the son of the current guy running the country.
I think that's crazy. And I love that for them.
I was thinking like when the Queen died, R.I.P. to everyone.
R.I.P.
Because it's the first monarch that's died in our lifetime.
Yeah.
And I saw that there was this kind of, there were people in England apathetic about it for sure. But I think Outside of some like very extreme people online, everyone was like, hey, RIP to a real one. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And to me, it's like, 'cause America, we don't have a monarchy. And so when the next former president dies, roughly half of us are going to be like, good riddance.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's this sort of unity that they have that we don't have.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So maybe
They're
I
a
don't
much
know.
smaller country as well.
That's true. And you've been, I assume.
Yeah, a couple times. I'm actually going in June for my grandma's 80th.
Oh, your grandma still lives there.
No, she lives here. We're taking her to go like visit all of her old friends, and like see her childhood home.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that sweet?
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
I love having like a connect in another country. It makes you feel like you can experience it in a way that you really can because if you've never been somewhere before, you have no connects. It's just like, well, whatever's on the first page of Google is the thing I'm going to do.
Right.
And it's probably not going to be the most authentic experience.
Totally.
My aunt is from Spain, and that's the first country I went to actually as a little boy. Yeah, I was like 10 years old and I went to Spain.
Cool.
It was so cool. There's beer at McDonald's. That's like the one thing I remember.
Cool.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And my parents got robbed in Madrid.
Oh.
Yeah.
Que bueno.
No que
bueno.
bueno. I've been doing Duolingo every day for years.
Oh, okay.
Spanish.
Oh.
And do
How's it
I
going?
speak it? How do they say in Spanish? No?
No.
Yeah.
I took Spanish for kindergarten through 12th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got to college, I tested into Spanish 1 and I still got a B.
Ah.
Worst grade on my transcript. It was really bad.
Oh, okay.
Like I have some sort of learning issue, but my parents were like, it costs like $1,000 to get you diagnosed. So let's just ignore that.
What do you think it is?
I think I have a language acquisition disorder because I also struggle with like sheet music, coding, other languages, spelling. Grammar is not a problem.
Uh-huh.
And I can read, but when I read aloud, I'll like replace words. But I'm a very fast reader, but sometimes I don't remember what I've read. I'm also really bad at memorization. Also, I just got bored learning Spanish. Like I'd be in a class where I'm learning, the intricacies of like global hegemonic power, and then I have to go learn the word for carrot. Like that to me was like very frustrating. I felt really I felt like my brain synapses were really, really bored learning another language because it made me feel like a baby again, and I didn't like it.
Yeah, what you like they break you up into conversation partners and you have to be like, my day was very fun.
Yeah.
How was your day?
Yeah. I really hated it.
Yeah. I always feel so self-conscious too. And like the few scenarios in which I've been like, oh, you have to talk to this person in their language. I'm like, I probably sound like an infant.
Oh, for sure. I hate feeling like that.
So you said that you got a B in Spanish and that was your worst grade.
Yeah.
So you correct me if I'm wrong. You're very type A.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And you like doing well in school.
Yes.
Has that been your experience like since you were little?
It never came easily to me. And I learned early on that giving it the old college try impressed my teachers just as much as the kids that it came really easily to. And then I noticed around middle school that I was getting better grades than the kids who I thought were naturally very gifted. Like the kids who could do the multiplication tables the fastest, like they started slacking around like 6th, 7th grade. But because I felt like I had to work harder than them, just because it didn't come as easily to me, I felt that I was climbing faster. So it kind of instilled a work ethic in me where I was like, oh, you can't, I mean, it's the same. That's why I didn't, obviously I bombed first, my first open mic with comedy, but I think a lot of people would quit then. But I think I learned in school that like, okay, you can keep going. And it's more, at the end, it's the effort that counts, not necessarily your natural ability, and you can make up for it. So to answer your question, I was always good at school, but not because it was just super easy. Like my brother's really naturally good at math. Like my sister, like things come more naturally to her. But I think that's also why I have a wide range of interests, because I've learned to be very autodidactical, like teach myself things from scratch. So yes. And I love like clear goals. Like I loved getting a report card. Like the fact that I don't get a report card anymore and I only have like a once a year check-in with a boss. Like that's hard. I like to know, I'm always asking my friends, like, are you mad at me? Like, what's the vibe? Like I want to know how people are thinking about me. So I really miss that part of school. And it was just so stimulating. Like, I don't know, at Dartmouth, there were quarter systems. So you got to take a new class every 10 weeks, 3 classes at a time, changed every 10 weeks. And like, that was so fun to like always have that turnover. So I really miss that. I think that's one of the reasons I started comedy is like, I really missed that like grind.
Yeah. And talk about instant feedback. That's the,
Oh my God. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, the report card, we hate you, but I'd rather know.
Your report card is complete silence
Yes,
and perplexed looks. Dude, that's, when someone, there's a type of audience member where they look at, I am fine with a blank stare, but if they're looking at me like, what?
Okay. I had a show last week and I shout out Michael Geddard because we were looking at the photos after. So, okay, there was this woman who was she was sitting to my left and she was giving me just this look like it was so disapproving. And halfway through I looked at her and I was just like, are you mad at me? Like, are you? And she kind of cracked, but then went right back. And then we were looking, Michael and I were outside looking at the photos after, and he couldn't believe this woman's face. I mean, she was so, I think I had, offended her right off the bat or something, or she just didn't like my vibe. And it was a scowl.
A scowl.
And I felt it. Like, I felt it was like lasers out of her eyes the whole time I'm doing my set. But I'm like, I shouldn't be trying to impress this one woman. I should try to make sure all these other people have fun. But it's like, get off my fucking back, lady.
Well, that's the pathology of performing is there could be 90 people having fun and you're like, 10 people aren't having fun. But 90 out of 100 is literally an A-.
Yeah. That's still an F in my book.
Yeah. So. Well, I really related to what you were saying before about like working hard, like conscientiousness your way into because that's what I had to do too.
Yeah.
And I love the approval of teachers, like being like,
were you good at school?
Yes, until I reached high school. And then high school, I kind of, I had a period of like low conscientiousness. I discovered marijuana.
Sure.
I discovered playing guitar.
Okay.
And just kind of being like, that's where I'm going to fit in. You know what I mean?
Cool.
I think I had this very self-defeatist attitude where I think come sophomore year of high school, it started to get a little hard. And if I had just like pushed through.
Yeah.
But
were you good at sports?
No, not at all. No, I was for a few reasons. I'm naturally clumsy.
Okay.
I have astigmatism, which means like even though I'm wearing contacts or if I'm wearing glasses, I still kind of really can't see.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And I have this thing about I've always been afraid of the ball.
Me too.
I don't know what it is. Like,
no, it's scary. Well, it hurts you if it touches you.
Yeah.
And I don't like physical I was cut from a no-cut soccer team when I was like little. They were like, you're the cheerleader now, which is all I wanted to be. But no, I've been terrible. I think a lot of comedians were really, really bad at like sports or something like that. Did you like theater, like musical theater or anything like that?
Yeah, it was weird because when I got to high school, I was like, oh, this is 4 years I have to get through. I don't have a clique because, and this is how I talked to myself back then. I was like, I'm like kind of smart, but not in a way where I'm going to like go to an Ivy League school. I'm not attractive. I'm not athletic. So I kind of just have to ride it out. And because
so you just like kept your head down?
Kept my head down. My mom was like, you're creative. You should think about doing the theater, right? And I didn't have this language at the time, but like I think I went to one thing and I was like, the improv energy from everyone just
totally. I can't sing, so that took me out of a lot of stuff. And I've never liked, the reason stand-up clicked for me so well was because I didn't want to read the script written by someone I never met. I didn't know them. It's from 100 years ago. Like, I love reading stuff that I had an input in. I didn't love just like auditioning and then getting cast as a character. Some people love that. Like, they love the challenge of being cast as a character out of a whole, there's 20 people, you go in, you have no say over who the director is going to cast you as, and you have to become that character. I hated that like lack of control. That's what I love about stand-up is like, I'm my own writer, I'm my own director, I'm my own producer, I'm the talent. Like, I'm doing all of it. I sound like a type A, like control freak, but I really do. And I think I didn't do theater or plays or anything. I was Yenta in Fiddler on the Roof in 8th grade. It's like the old Jewish matchmaker. Crushed that.
Nice.
And then I was Tybalt in 6th grade in Romeo and Juliet, which I liked.
Which
But
one? Which one
Tybalt is he dies. He and Mercutio kill each other.
Oh, you played a boy. It's like the
I
opposite
was
of-
always played boys. I have like a lower voice. I got my
Okay.
adenoids out recently and tonsils, but I've always had a very low voice. I have a lot of penis envy. Like I kind of want to be a dude in a lot of ways. So
I have penis envy too, but in a different way.
okay, nice. So I always like chose to play the boys at camp and like stuff like that.
Okay. Hell yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think I would have I think if I just pushed the initial uncomfortability of
Yeah.
of-
It's hard to do that when you're young
Yeah.
and it's so judgy.
I think I freaked my parents out too because I was very much like good kid, Boy Scout.
You have Boy Scout energy for sure. Were you
Yeah.
an Eagle Scout?
No, because like I think I made tenderfoot, but I barely tenderfoot's like the first level,
Okay.
and that's like 7th or 8th grade or whatever. And I barely passed tenderfoot. I didn't
Okay.
study for the test at all. I did so bad on the test that I even got this question wrong, which is when you fold an American flag, what shape is the flag in?
Triangle.
That's the right answer. I said square, which is just not even like
That's dumb.
it's
That's bad.
pretty
That's
dumb,
embarrassing.
right? Yeah. But like all at once, I was like, I'm not playing soccer anymore. I'm not playing Little League. I'm not like 14, just started smoking weed and decided everything was dumb. And I think like I have a lot of empathy for my parents now because I
me
think
too.
they were like, dude, our kid's going to be a fucking loser.
Yeah.
Like, what is he
Are
doing?
your parents cool?
My parents are cool.
Mine too.
Yeah. But I think like there's only a certain amount of like cool you want to make sure your kid doesn't end up to be at best a loser and at
Yeah.
worst, like especially when you're raising a boy, you're like, I would like him to not go to prison.
Sure.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was being like a tiny bit of a lunatic. You know what I
Okay.
mean? But it all worked out.
It
Yeah.
sounds like you just have growing pains, like most kids.
Yeah, I think so. Because I eventually actually went to my original major in college was history.
Oh, cool. Where'd you go to school?
I went to SUNY Plattsburgh.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Which is
Did you live at home and commute, or did you live on campus?
No, so I'm like 50 miles north of the city, and
Okay.
Plattsburgh is like almost by Canada. So it's like
wow.
a 5-hour drive.
Okay, cool.
I've always wanted to live in New York City, but at 19, for whatever reason, and as someone that grew up here, you're gonna find this crazy, but I was like a little scared of it.
I didn't want to live here as a college student. I get it.
Okay.
Like it was already scary to me as a high schooler.
Really?
Yeah, like people were doing cocaine and people, I mean, like when you grow up in like the private school system in New York, like people are kind of crazy. Like, and it was also, I mean, it was so status based. Like we didn't have a place in the Hamptons. And like that was like, that was like what people got bullied about, like at my high school. You know what I mean? Like it was very snooty. It wasn't really my vibe. I went to school on the Upper East Side. We lived on the Upper West Side, and like almost no one in my year lived on the Upper West Side. So like that was a whole thing. This sounds so like spoiled bratty, but like
Yeah.
that was just what those 4 years were. I went to like a regular public school, and then I went to like this fancy private school for high school. I forget why we were talking about this.
Oh, just where I went to school.
Oh, but
When
I was
went to
scared.
college.
That whole experience, I was like, I don't want my college experience to feel like this. Like on a Friday, I'd be like, does anyone want to hang out? And someone would be over here and someone would be over there. That's a big reason I wanted to go to Dartmouth, because I wanted to feel stuck like at summer camp. Like I wanted us all to be in this little town together.
Okay.
And I loved that part of college.
Yeah.
And then I felt ready when I came back to be grown up.
Ah, I see. Yeah, I definitely didn't have it figured out in college either. And I switched my major because history was it was too much work.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
A lot of work. But it
And
taught me how to
none-
write.
What's that?
It taught me how to write. I'm very grateful.
Yes,
So
and
for
it
that.
taught me how to talk too. I think any of the liberal arts or humanities, if it's like taught right, you're going to learn how to express yourself a little
Totally.
easier. As I say, like 1,000 times in a row.
Yes.
I'm really really fucking good at talking. You know what I'm saying? Dude, someone commented on a YouTube video, just one word, and I thought about it the entire night,
What was
which
it?
was like, and I'm like,
Yikes.
because I hear it too.
I say it. People comment on my videos all the time.
And I can't even get mad because when I listen to someone else talking like that, I'm like, just slow down and think about what you're going to say.
It doesn't bother me listening to other
Really?
people say it. No, not at all.
Okay.
I like listening. Like I love like an Aaron Sorkin sort of talker. Like I love a very fast, very dense talker.
Okay.
I love to like have to track a conversation with my eyes. Like I'm watching tennis. Like I love that.
Okay. To me, not stand-up wise, because it's a little different, but like whenever I'm like learning something from a podcast, I like when they talk almost absurdly.
Oh, really? I
Yeah.
speed up my podcasts. I go 1.2x
Whoa.
on my podcasts.
I didn't think anybody did that.
Yeah,
I was like, what is this button for? It's for you.
that's for me. I get bored, hence the can't play Monopoly.
Yeah. Okay. And that, have you always been like that?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so you mentioned you have 2 siblings.
Yeah, I'm the oldest of 3.
You're the oldest.
Yeah.
Okay. Now what's your experience like being the oldest? Because I have no siblings, so I don't know.
Oh, really? Interesting. No wonder your parents were so worried about you. I was like, what's this luxury?
Yeah.
I mean, my parents, I talk about this in my solo show a little bit. Like, I kind of compare my siblings to like a risotto that sort of needed to be attended to. And I was sort of the crock pot stew where you just set it, forget it. Like, I was the easy kid.
Okay.
Whereas like my brother, you know, like he would get detention, he would get like suspended from school. Like my parents would have to remind him to do his homework. Like getting up in the morning was a big problem in our house.
Okay.
Like I would set my alarm before I went to bed every night. And then I would get up when my alarm went off and I would get dressed and I would have breakfast and I would get ready for school. But my brother would like lock his door sometimes from the inside. There'd be pounding on the door, wake up, wake up. He wouldn't wake up. They'd have to like shimmy the lock. They'd have to get him out. He wouldn't want to go to school. Like it was a nightmare every single morning.
Wow.
To like it, and I was the easy kid. So I think I also felt a lot of pressure to like go to a really good school, get really good grades, kind of be the easy one. But I also wish that I'd had a little more like spotlight, like attention on me.
Yeah, because it's almost like.
And then my sister's 10 years younger than me.
Oh.
So
okay.
we are of a 10 years. So my brother and I are 2 years. And then my sister came 7 years after him. I was the accident though. She was very planned.
Ah, okay.
Like all of my parents were the youngest parents in my graduating class of high school, like and college. But so if my youngest sister, my parents are exactly the same age.
Oh yeah.
As all of her friends' parents. But yeah. I mean, I identify strongly as the oldest. I recently read a study saying that the oldest kids have the highest IQ on average. So I've definitely clung to that.
Just throwing it out there.
Just throwing it out there. But yeah, in many ways, I wish that like I had gotten kind of the chance to be an only child for a bit before like my sister got to have like those 7 years of like only her.
Yeah.
Which I think she actually hated. So, you know, you always want what you can't have.
Yeah, the grass is always greener. But it must have felt a little bit of like pressure to be the easy kid, because in moments where you're like, I don't feel so easy right now.
Well, they'd get mad at me for sure.
Oh, really?
Like I was really, really scared to ride the subway by myself because I'd gotten separated in first grade. Like my mom had gotten off the subway and then the doors had closed and I was left on the subway. And like, thankfully it was on the way to school. And there was another parent like on my subway car who recognized me because I was like sobbing.
Oh.
And she like walked me to school and like helped me find my mom. But like from that, I was so scared. And my mom like it was annoying to them to have to like take me on the subway, even when I was like in like 8th grade.
Yeah.
But yeah, they definitely got annoyed when I was not the easygoing kid for sure.
Yeah, dude. I mean, as someone who I think took the New York City subway for the first time when he was 20.
It's kind of scary.
I was scared.
And imagine being this tall. Like it's scary.
I'm not much taller than that.
But I remember my therapist once said, I think you started stand-up so you could talk in front of your parents without being interrupted.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was like, maybe. But we're also, chatty Jewish family. Like everyone's sort of being sarcastic and roasting people and teasing. That's kind of the vibe.
Oh, I keep drawing parallels between Jews and Catholics, and I think that's another one.
Interesting.
That's kind of what
everyone's kind of mean.
Yeah, everyone's like actually Ben Miller, the other science comedian, he came to my house because we were making our way. So what I have going for me is that I open for Ben, and also I have my mom's car.
Oh my God, nice.
Pretty cool.
So tell me a
if
little
anyone
bit
listening,
about
I have
Ben's,
a mom's car.
I want to see his show. It's a PowerPoint hour.
So he has 2 hours now, which I find.
He does the volcano thing, and then he does the stand-up.
Stand-up science is the first one.
And does he do it in theaters? Is it a comedy show or is it a solo?
It's a comedy show. He would describe it as a comedy show, and it's autobiographical, but in a way where it's really he is a traditional comic in the fact that the focus is like laughs per minute for sure.
Okay.
There's not like even like the silly little parts about himself are definitely crafted to have a narrative where
it's joke heavy.
Yeah, it's joke heavy. Yeah, that's
cool.
a good way to put
I
it.
took the same approach to mine for sure.
I even, because I'm doing Edinburgh in the summer.
Oh my God, congrats.
Yeah, and it's history based, but it's definitely a similar vibe to what I just described because I guess technically it's a one-man show. I don't even like describing it this way. And I think
it's a PowerPoint?
It is. I do utilize a PowerPoint, yeah. So I guess it is a one-man show. But
and have you been workshopping it in the city? Do you have like directors and producers? Is it that vibe, or is this like the first time you're going to be doing it?
No directors or producers yet. I have officially ran the hour once.
Okay, congrats. Where'd you do it?
I did it in Philadelphia at the Crossroads Theater.
Oh,
and it was
I've
a
heard
black
great
box,
things about them.
and 12 people were
Awesome.
nice enough to come.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So I have an hour under my belt, and so yeah, that was it was good, but where were we? Oh, yeah. So my family like roasts me a lot.
Sure.
Like when Ben met my dad, he's like, "Wow, your dad's like very mean."
That's what everyone says when they meet my parents.
Yeah.
Like your mom's hot and your parents are really mean to each other and you.
Yeah. But that's nice, I suppose.
Yeah. What did I say to my mom the other day? I was like, "Can you help me pay for my therapy bills? You break it, you buy it." And she just goes, "You came broken." And I was like, "Oh my God."
That's quick though.
Yeah. They're very funny. My parents are very funny.
I think I get my my sense of humor from both of my parents. It's always funny to me when I meet a friend of mine who does comedy. I meet their parents and one or both of them are like kind of stiff. And I'm like, well, where did the funny come from?
Right. Maybe there's a reaction against it.
Yeah, that's possible. Okay, so you're the oldest. I'm fascinated by people having siblings because I did not, and I feel like I got my the parents' full attention, which is like good and bad.
Yeah.
You know what
Did
I
they
mean?
want more kids or did they always want one?
So they're both one of 8.
Wow.
Which is too many.
That's too many.
I'm gonna go on record as saying too many.
That's
and
too
my
many.
dad, only boy. Middle child, only boy,
Yikes.
7 sisters.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Mm-hmm. Like he might have gotten even less attention than you.
Yeah. I think so. I'm sure. That's yikes.
They're like, he can't get pregnant. He'll be fine. Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of interesting. So you went to college as a history major, but you always had in the back of your mind this experience when you were 7 years old of a woman giving birth in a car outside your apartment. Is that the story?
There was I mean, I didn't see like the baby come out, but there were like EMTs, and I just thought the fact that it was twofold. It was like, I thought that like the human body was a miracle. I thought birth was a miracle. I thought that the resiliency, like the fact that you could have to go through one of the most painful things in your entire life and you just had to do in the backseat of a cab. Like, because that's also like the incongruency with my type A personality. Like that really scared me and I think it was the danger was like what I was captivated by as well. Like birth is so violent and so like primal and visceral. I was like very fascinated by that.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw a live birth and I was like, I don't think I want to be that person. I don't want to be on call. I don't want to be the one dealing with it. I don't always do well in super high pressure situations of like, we need to do an emergency C-section. Like I don't want to have to be the person responsible for that.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
And also the process of medical school, like you have to do so many different not residencies, but like rotations and stuff that I'm not interested in. I think you kind of have to love all of medicine, and I'm kind of just had that niche interest. So that's sort of why I went the research route where you can like really pursue like one specific niche thing and become an expert.
Mm-hmm. I think you just reminded me because you said emergency C-section. That might be why I'm an only child.
Were you an emergency C-section?
Emergency C-section.
How were you premature? What was the problem?
Premature, 2 months old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait,
2 months old, 2 months early.
2 months early. That's pretty early.
Yeah.
Do you get sick a lot?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, that's good.
When I was born, I was 3 pounds, 13 ounces.
Wow.
Which is
Were you in the NICU?
Yes, I was for an entire month.
Oh my God, your poor parents.
Yeah. And,
it's pretty traumatic for parents.
So the story my dad tells me is because my mom's water broke and they called an ambulance and the paramedics get there and they're like, listen, she's going to have the baby early, of course, but it's not a big deal. We're going to put her in an ambulance due to like an abundance of caution, but this is them talking to my dad. They're like, you just drive behind the ambulance and it'll be fine.
Did she give you birth to you in the ambulance without your dad?
No. So what happened was they were both at a red light. The ambulance is in front of my dad's car. And this was literally after they just told him, listen, it's going to be fine. All of a sudden the lights go on and they run the red light.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Because
and did your dad follow?
He couldn't.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I guess
he should have gone in the ambulance with them. That's crazy.
I guess because they were like,
it's not a big deal.
And at the moment before I had stopped breathing, which is why they blew the red light.
On the outside or the inside?
What do you mean?
Like while you were still in your mom?
Yeah, while I was still in there. So I was still in there. I guess they monitored my breathing and they were like, oh, he's not breathing. So they run the red light. And then for whatever reason, my dad wasn't immediately able to follow the ambulance. So now this is before GPS and he just doesn't know where he is and doesn't know where the hospital is.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
So what happened?
So this is in Paterson, New Jersey, by the way, which is not a great area. And so he's like driving around. He finally finds the hospital and he goes in and they're like, we're about to start the emergency C-section. And a piece of advice that my dad gave me, which I'll never forget, is he's like, if the doctors put a curtain and tell you not to look over the curtain.
Did he see your mom's organs in a bowl?
Oh,
yeah. That's the classic.
He was like, yeah, that was like a really bad mistake. But they delivered me.
Okay.
And then I forget the number that they gave me, but it was a low. You know how they give you a number like 1 through 10
of like how well you're doing?
Yeah, it was like below 5.
That's not good.
Yeah, not good at all.
Well, you were really early, and then you stayed in the incubator
for a month.
Do you know how those were invented? It was like a mistake. The baby incubator. So Coney Island, when Coney Island was like, there was the traveling circuses back in like the 1890s, 1910s, like Edwardian, Victorian Edwardian times. People would give, I mean, it's so fucked up, but people would give their premature babies to the circus because they knew that they would die and people wanted to come look at preemie babies because they were so weird and little looking. And then someone was like, well, I feel bad for the babies. Let's put them in a warm box. And then those babies lived. And that's how we got the incubator.
So shout out to the absolute monsters that wanted to look at dying babies for fun.
Yeah.
Because we wouldn't have incubators without them.
Bingo.
That is so crazy, dude.
I know.
Just the way people operated back then.
I know. People had a really fucked up sense of humor.
But I think what it was is they didn't have they couldn't watch Breaking Bad on Netflix yet.
Right. They needed.
Gotta look at something.
Yeah, totally. They just had to feel something.
So I'm glad we're talking about pregnancy because I saw you do 20 minutes of pregnancy comedy at Nerd Night at Caveat.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yes, you were there.
It was really good.
Oh my God. Thank you.
Yeah.
I loved that moment when I brought up the slide about the forceps and you could, the forceps that people deliver. And I could just feel everyone go like, oh.
Yeah. I don't even have a vagina and I felt uncomfortable.
Like, now they use a vacuum mostly.
Dude, shout out to anybody that has, any woman that gives birth to a baby. Because if I was able to, I know it's going to make me sound like a simp, but shout out to the ladies, honestly, because I would never do that. I would 100%.
I'm excited about it.
I eat a banana every day so that I won't possibly get a kidney stone ever. You know what I mean? Because I heard potassium keeps that from happening, which I don't even know is true.
I'm not sure.
I might have saw it on Reddit and then took it as sacrosanct.
I love Reddit.
Yeah. But if you do have kids, you're like the most prepared for it.
Yeah, but I can tell that's going to mean that I'm going to have to do all the emotional labor. Like I've definitely had a lot of conversations with my boyfriend being like, just because I have a degree in pregnancy stuff doesn't mean that you don't need to like be super involved and like help me.
Yeah.
Because like women are already the default parent. And then if you come from the pregnancy world, so I want to make sure that doesn't mean that like, because I already have a tendency to be like, I got this, no one get involved. But I'm excited to like go through that human experience for the bit.
For the bit, yeah. I mean, you're gonna get
that'll be my second solo show. Yeah. My baby and me. Why I hate my baby.
Yeah, it's I didn't think about like what it would be like to be the husband or the boyfriend because I don't think I could ever, if I get married and I have a wife and I have a child and my mom is listening, crossing her fingers, I think I could never disagree with her again. You know what I mean? I don't think I could ever be like, I don't agree.
It'll wear off.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah.
They say like there's a chemical in women's brains that after they forget how painful it was
for to like help preserve the population.
Oh, dude, that's
they think that's the evolutionary reason.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, everyone would only have one baby.
Yes, and you don't want to have just one baby. Look what happens.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
But not 8 either.
So I don't know if this is an easily answerable question.
Okay, shoot.
What's like the craziest thing that you learned about pregnancy?
Oh my God. So much. I mean, okay, my favorite pregnancy information is that when there are changes in barometric pressure from like tornadoes or a hurricane or something like that, it can rupture amniotic sacs and break women's water and send them into labor. So if like a local area knows a storm is coming, they anticipate more people coming in and they'll put more OBGYNs on staff. That's the same reason you shouldn't fly in your third trimester. It's not something wrong with the plane. It's like the changes in air pressure can like rupture the sac.
Wow, that's stuff you would never even think of. That's another thing too, is I think like I'm pretty like I'm not very neurotic, but I think if I was in charge of a being,
yeah, it'll be a good job for me to be pregnant because I'm very neurotic. The amniotic fluid takes on the taste of whatever the mom's eating. So your palate will probably, like if, for example, my mom had a lot of morning sickness with me, so she only ate a lot of like toast and like cantaloupe. And so I am like not good with like spicy foods and stuff like that. But with my siblings, she ate whatever because she didn't have any morning sickness and they eat whatever. So we kind of like, you kind of come out, I don't know. Studying prenatal health has given me a lot of pause when it comes to nature and nurture. Like I feel like you kind of come out and that's how you are. And you can like fuck up your kids. But in terms of personality, like they've even seen in utero, they can tell what your circadian rhythms are going to be. Like, are you going to be a night person or a morning person? Like that's predetermined, like all sorts of stuff like that.
That's fascinating.
I know.
Damn. That to me, like, I don't know. I go back and forth, like because I have my my own like idiosyncrasies, shall we say? So I'm like, is it even moral for me to have a kid? You know what I mean? Is that just a tiny...
I think people way worse than you are having a lot of kids. So I think it's no problem.
Maybe it's the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Sure.
If you're worried about having kids, maybe you should have a kid. I don't know. Yeah, that's interesting. So are there common misconceptions with I'm sure there's a bunch of them.
My most frustrating misconception is that egg donation and egg freezing is like perfectly safe, totally normal.
Okay.
No side effects. And that IVF and whatever is like this amazing save the day thing, which it is. And it's great that it's becoming more accessible to more people who want to like grow their families and stuff. But the process through which there's just like not enough information out there about the horrible torture you put your body through to get the eggs out. You basically have to go through 6 months of like estrogen and progesterone injections. So you're basically going through a second puberty. The eggs in your ovaries blow up to 10 times the size when they get them out. And we don't really follow those patients. So we don't know if the eggs ever shrink back down. We don't know what happens if you then conceive a baby naturally with those eggs. We don't know what's going to happen to the people who go through menopause when they had 2 puberties. We don't know like how that's going to affect risks for like ovarian cancer and breast cancer and colon cancer and all sorts of stuff. There's just not enough data. And people are freezing their eggs left and right like it's getting a haircut. It's not. It's like, it's serious. Yeah. Same with a C-section. People think because a C-section is 12 minutes, it's minor surgery. It's not. You shouldn't be scheduling C-sections. You shouldn't be doing it unless it's absolutely necessary.
Why would you have a C-section unless it was necessary?
I don't know. Victoria Beckham scheduled all her C-sections around David's soccer schedule. Like people schedule C-sections all the time.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
Or you want to not experience childbirth, which is fine. But you know, there are a lot of drugs nowadays that can really help you, like epidurals. And I had to get an epidural with my ass surgery for my cyst.
Oh, and we haven't
even talked about it. I know we're almost out of time, but let's talk about it briefly. Yeah. Tell me your journey, your polynatal cyst journey.
Have I been pronouncing it wrong this whole time? It's polynatal. Okay, I've been saying polynatal. Polynatal. And I talked about it on stage, so I should be able to pronounce it correctly. Yeah, I actually experienced it. I still lived with my parents upstate, but my friends and I did something in Manhattan, and the car ride back, I had such bad back pain.
Mine started in a car. as
Yeah?
well. Yeah.
There must be something of
Where was it on your back? Was it at the very top of your butt?
it was actually my actual tailbone.
Mine too. Okay.
Yeah. So we should explain. So the cyst is basically like the way it's been explained to me is you have an ingrown hair.
Mine was a vestigial vein.
Ooh. Which is worse because you had a worse experience than mine.
Because I think that's why I had to get real surgery.
Because I got same day surgery where I had to walk like a gorilla for a week afterwards.
How big was your cyst?
I didn't get to keep it, unfortunately.
Well, you can't keep a cyst.
Nor would they let me name it. But it was, I don't know how big it was, but the surgery was even quicker than a C-section.
It was they lanced it in the emergency room.
Lanced it. Yeah, I remember I went to a regular doctor.
What was the pain from 1 to 10?
It was pretty. So that
mine was like a 10 out of 10.
No, I would say it was like a 7. It was.
Okay.
It was. Oh, you know what was? And I had a toothache, but that was worse. But I think low point in my life when my dad was pulling the cotton out of the hole in my butthole. Dude,
that was.
Because they didn't tell me.
I know. My mom had to tape a maxi pad onto my butt for like days after to go to school.
The whole thing is, I'm going to go ahead and say it, a pain in the ass.
It is a pain in the ass.
Maxim, can we clip that? He's going to clip that for
us. So mine developed, I was college touring. My dad and I drove from New York to UVA.
Mhm.
So we were in the car for like 3 days straight.
Mhm.
And I was having this horrible pain. And I didn't know what it was. And it's my dad. I didn't want to be like, Dad, I have like something's weird's going on with my ass. Like I didn't want to talk to him about it. So I bought all of this like fucking preparation H. Like I thought all that stuff would help. It just made it worse.
Mhm.
Then I went to my pediatrician and she put me on antibiotics. And then it blew up like this bit. Like it was really, really bad. Then I had it lanced at the ER. And then that all happened again 6 months later and again 6 months later. So they said, we're not going to keep doing this. You have to go get it surgically removed. And I had to get like full on ass surgery, full on stitches. Like I was sitting on a donut. It was really bad.
Yeah. Did you have to take the cyst baths too?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to do those. That made me feel weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole situation was awful. And the surgery only has a 70% success rate. So thank God I didn't get it again. But they said I had like an extra vein or maybe a tail. I don't know. Something was wrong with me. And now I have 3 scars all at the top of my butt.
Okay. I don't have a scar, thankfully.
Look at you.
But
my lancing, the second time I got it lanced, I would say like my IUD, like that was like a 7 out of 10.
Mhm.
This was a 10 out of 10.
Mhm.
Like I don't think childbirth will be as painful as getting that done.
Okay. All right. So you had a dry run.
Yeah.
Oh man. I think the way we learned that we both had a cyst was
You did the bit about it.
and which is 100%. None of that is exaggerated, by the
Great.
way. I had, and I'll give the cliff notes now, but like basically, my general practitioner, who was the first person I went to because I didn't know what it was, thought that I had anal herpes,
Oh, right. Yes.
and she was.
but it's
I
not
actually-
where your butt is.
So, by the way, and the only thing I change in the bit is that the doctor is a man in the bit, but in
Okay.
real life she's a woman. Because the crux of the bit is I had a dumb doctor.
Yeah.
And I found that the audience didn't like if the dumb doctor was a woman.
Okay. Fair. Very fair.
But the worst part was there was a tinge of judgment too, which I didn't like. I was
Yeah.
like, dude, if I did have it, then you're
not
just
allowed.
supposed to help me.
Yeah. That's really crazy.
She's like, I think you have anal herpes or something. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Okay. Well, that happens to some people. Why are you being a dick about it?
That's really rude.
Yeah. And I remember too, because telling my mom, I wish that I had just had the doctor talk to my mom. So I was like, Mom, I have a cyst. And she's like, it's cancer. And I was like, it's not cancer. She's like, did you ask if it was cancer? I'm like, I think she would have brought it up
Right.
if
Yeah.
it was
would've come up
cancer.
for sure.
Yeah. That's what, going back to like how nerve-wracking it must be to have a child, because I saw on my mom's face, she's like, is it cancer? And I realized that if I had a kid, them having cancer would be more nerve-wracking.
They say when you have a kid, it's a part of your heart that escapes and it's forever. You're always chasing after it.
Dude, and I mean, I know how much dumb shit I did when I was a kid.
Oh yeah. But that's the cycle of life. You never sympathize with your parents until you become older or become a parent.
Mhm.
But that's the curse of being a parent. you give birth to this creature and it has its own personality and you have no say over what it is and it's going to make your life miserable. And then it will grow up and it will say sorry.
Yeah.
And then you'll say sorry because like parents fuck up too.
Mm-hmm.
There's no parent that does a perfect job. I don't think that exists.
Yeah. Speaking of perfect job, I'm going to go ahead and say it, Sarah. If this podcast ended with a report card, I'd give you an A+.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah,
How do other people do? That's what I really want to know.
Oh, is it grade on a
I want to
curve?
know if I want to know where I am the histogram.
Now, am I agreeable enough that I would tell every guest that they had an A+? Yes.
Okay.
But am I being sincere when I tell you got on a curve A+?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's so important to me.
And if people maybe want to give you a grade themselves, or they want to reach out to you, follow you on social media.
Great segue.
Yeah.
I'm at Sarah Adelman 1 on Instagram, www.sarahadelmancomedy.com, SARAHADELMAN. TikTok, Sarah_Adelman, but you don't have to perceive me on there. And come see my solo show. The premiere sold out in June, but I'm doing it for 3 nights at Under St. Mark's, August 22nd, 23rd, 24th. You should come. And that's me.
That's Sarah, guys. Follow her on all those things. Go to her shows in August. And remember, folks, early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. I'm just playing night owls. You know I love you.
Thank you.